Tremendous drama, basic drama. Peter Faulkner has stolen the line. The man who, in fact, was on pole position and on the lap record, stalled on the line as the rest of the GT cars get away. Dempsey leads, Crozier's in second place. Then John Keeny in the TMC in third, and poor Peter Faulkner left at the start of the Sasha GT race, a 12-lapper. So it'll be interesting to see him carving his way through the field, Brian.
Yes, drama there. Just as the lights went to red, out came Peter's hand to say that his car had stalled and off the front row. But look at John Keeny already doing this manoeuvre that he's done many times before. Didn't get away with it that time, which is around the outside of the S's, and Morgan not getting away from these two, using the centre of the line there to protect that inside line from George Crozier in case he thinks he'll dive up the inside. But John Keeny having a look at it now. He has got to get by George Crozier if he has any chance of being in contention with Morgan down the straight. John had problems during the week, fitted a new engine. Going to have a look at the long way round, and the long way round he's going. George not giving him a lot of room, has to tuck back in behind. George and John fighting over this championship all through the year, but the leader at the moment, number 9, in his own built Morgan Dempsey Engineering MD Special, leading with George Crozier, and Keeny makes a lovely manoeuvre up the inside and gets by George Crozier, but that's our leader. George snaps the nose off and puts him back into third place. George is not going to give up the second place easy.
And I think there must be a little bit of damage on John Keeny's left-hand side of the TMC. We'll have a close look at that in a minute or two, because they must have made contact. But George Crozier still defending, the man who holds the lap record here at Mondello, still defending that second place. And Keeny now back on the attack. These three men have been racing together for many years, but this battle for second place is sort of letting Morgan Dempsey cruise away in that MD Special, and indeed it possibly could have been 2 MD Specials out front there today if it hadn't been for poor Peter Faulkner's problems. We're keeping an eye on him to see how he's getting on. He's back up to 7th place, 9th on lap 1, 7th on lap 2, and really carving his way through the field. But great battle up front.
Yes, John Keeny trying to find a way around George Crozier. He had a look at the inside the last time. George closing the door there. That's the battle for second place. George getting a little wide there. Seemed to be able to get out of Budweiser much quicker than John. John not close enough to do that manoeuvre around the outside of the S's. Begin to tuck in there, having to give way to George. George not as quick through the S's there. John having a look at the inside. George begin to move over to close the door, but John has that inside line and he moves up into second place. That's Peter Faulkner. He's the man who had to have the push start. He's coming up to lap the 1350. That's Richard Baird in the Exide car there. The stiletto just popping through. And 77 there, just nicking through. Michael Wheeling taking advantage of Peter Faulkner's move there to nip by Richard Baird in the Exide car. Peter Faulkner now on a flyer, but there's our leader, our new second place man in the Dunlop sponsored TMC, John Keeny. Can he do anything about this lead that Morgan Dempsey has? They're in Budweiser at the moment. John takes a very, very wide line to get that slingshot up the hill. Through the S's is part of John's strategy here at Mondello. He's very, very quick indeed.
And it's interesting to keeping an eye on Peter Faulkner's times, because he was on the lap record at 58.67. He was on the lap record on practice, and he, well, with this sort of aggressive situation now, could be putting in lap record times. But John Keeny, having got past Crozier, is really now putting the pressure on the leading MD Special, the car built by Morgan Dempsey, and this is Faulkner. Now he's got past Dan Rooney, who's leading the 1300cc class. He's now up into 4th place, so from the back of the grid into 4th place. Number 44, there he goes, flying through. We're back with the leaders, 6 laps to go. And John Keeny very hungry for yet another Mondello win at this moment.
Yes, and the fastest man on the circuit at the moment is John. A lap there of 59.68. Peter Faulkner having to get through the back markers at 61.37. But just look how close John is getting to Morgan Dempsey as they come down towards the S's. Very late on the brakes there, John. Has his own peculiar line, and you'll see later on if he tries to do this manoeuvre where he tries to drive around the car in front, a back marker there on the inside of the screen. John taking the outside line, which is the quickest line of all. That looks like the fast track. That's Faulkner now. He's up into fourth, so all the 1,600 cars now in a row. It's Dempsey from Keeny, from Crozier, from Faulkner, and Peter now has a clear track, and we'll see if he's really going to put in one of his fast laps.
Leader's been held up by back markers. John Keeny gets through, but Morgan Dempsey lost a little bit of time there. So traffic is always causing problems. George Crozier now has... And something wrong with Keeny. Keeny suddenly slowed there. He must have missed a gear because he suddenly lost a lot of time there. As he was coming up alongside that back marker, he suddenly slowed, but still seems to be going. And this is just what Dempsey needed, a bit of breathing space. He's on his 6th lap of this 10-lap race. And there, we are looking to see what happened to Keeny. It might have been just a little mistake in the heat of the moment when he missed a gear. He doesn't seem to have slowed up too much at the moment, but certainly Dempsey has really flown ahead.
Yes, an unusual mistake for John, but that's the man that was on pole position. He's doing everything he can to catch up with the leaders, and it is a hard job indeed he's doing. Dempsey here having to come back a little bit as he passes a back marker with 4 laps to go. John Keeny begin to make inroads again. Will Morgan be caught up with the traffic? We saw his son drive a brilliant Formula Ford race yesterday. Can Daddy do the same job today? Beautiful manoeuvre there, out around the outside of the midget there. That's Robbie Norton that we saw back there from Munchtown in the Hillman end, and the little midget there was John Richardson from Newtonards. But that's our leader, Morgan Dempsey, followed by John Keeny, followed by George Crozier.
So a little bit clearer now, the track ahead of these three. Another imp to deal with in a second or two, but the three still together, and John Keeny getting closer all the time. There's Peter Faulkner. He's in 4th place, but a fair bit behind this Battle 3. He's just done a quick lap, though. He did a 59.91, 58.67 is the lap record. And again, there's number 43 there. No, 40, the helmet imp there. Robbie Norton, we think it is, who they're all lapping at the moment.
Yes, and Ron Keeny really got a gain there through telecom. He pulled in a lot. The rear body work of Morgan's car shaking weight, protecting that inside line. Morgan there as they exit Budweiser. There's another back marker as they come down to the S's. John has made a brilliant recovery there. Back marker there, getting out of the way, leaving that inside line for the quick win. Also, George McCrozier just catching onto the back of John Keeny. Now, John has only a couple of laps to do it. Willie Morgan moves to the centre road, protect that inside line. John out to the outside to get that really quick line as he slingshots out of Dunlop corner. He's on the tail of Morgan Dempsey as they come down the straight.
And it's terribly close between the top three, because Crozier is in an attacking position too in 3rd place. Really closed up. And 2 laps to go, and they promise to be dynamite. Look at this. Morgan Dempsey not only in his home-built car, but his home-built engine. And John Keeny right on his tail now, with Crozier just hoping and praying for a little mistake from these two. The Fermanagh driver there in 3rd place, and Keeny trying round the outside. But that couldn't have worked, and it didn't. So the Dunlop-sponsored TMC there, making a mighty effort for the lead. Only a lap and a half to go, and it's any one of these 3 men's race, and the cumulative experience of these 3 is quite tremendous. Keeny has won over 100 races in his career. He won the first ever race here at Mondello Park, and look at Crozier now, looking up the outside of Dunlop corner there.
Yes, that's the quickest line if he can get up the outside and get a slingshot, and he has that quick line. He's having a look at the inside, but unfortunately John was just where he wanted to be, and he had to lift off. But that'll slow John down. You can see that Morgan has pulled out a few car lengths. Now he's got to protect it again from George trying the outside. They're on the last lap. Keeny took a very wide line at Budweiser last time in the Sasha-sponsored TMC. Can John Keeny do anything about Morgan? Morgan at the moment driving a copybook race, got through the back markers, made as much time as he could. He can't decide where the back markers will be, but when he came across them, he made all the time he could. John very close indeed. Willie tried his manoeuvre down the outside of the S's. Morgan seemed to have the legs of him coming into braking. John heavy on the brakes. He's still got to watch behind him because George Crozier will be there all the time. We've seen what he tried the last lap coming up into Dunlop, but Morgan holding the centre of the road there. Will it be John? Will it be Morgan?
And he's right round the outside. Dempsey a bit economical on the brakes there. They're coming down towards the checkered flag. It's Morgan Dempsey, John Keeny and George Croser in an absolute cracker of a Sasha GT race. And that's the way they finish up. Dan Rooney wins the 1350cc class and Peter Faulkner comes home in 4th place. So there's Morgan Dempsey, the race winner, and what pressure he withstood. And there are some of the more powerful cars seen here at Mondello this weekend.